How's it going, everyone? T-Rav here, and welcome to this video where I take Ben 10 aliens and turn them into superheroes. Well, technically they already are superheroes, but I make them more human instead. Well, they're still aliens in this video. If you want to know what I mean, watch the rest of this video. Anyway, roll time lapse. Ever since Ben could remember, he wanted to be a hero. He would go to school dressed in a homemade costume, calling himself Ultra Ben. Of course, the other kids would bully him for this, so over the years he became more obnoxious and jaded. But when he sees other kids being bullied, he will jump in to protect them, although he would just end up getting them both into trouble. On his 10th birthday, Ben developed an intense fever. His body felt like it was on fire. His parents didn't know what was wrong with him, but his grandpa knew exactly what was happening. Ben was transforming into a pyro knight. Grandpa Max is part of the government organization known as the Plumbers. They were a secret group at first, and their job was to prevent alien invasions and keeping extraterrestrial life a secret. But all that changed after Vilgax the Conqueror invaded Earth. Back then, Omnitopia was the city of Bellwood, a small city where nothing special ever happens. But out of the blue, portals were opening in the sky, and robots were dropping out of them and wreaking havoc in the city. The Plumbers can no longer keep aliens a secret anymore, as Earth prepares for a war of the worlds. The Plumbers were joined by several alien species calling themselves the Omnitrix Tribunal, and together they stopped Vilgax. With the help of the Omnitrix Tribunal, Earth became a safe haven for aliens who lost their homeworlds from Vilgax the Conqueror, and Bellwood was renamed to Omnitopia to honor the brave aliens who lost their lives in the war. Grandpa Max is half Pyro Knight, and he thought his alien heritage stopped with him, due to the fact that his son never developed powers. But as it turns out, the Pyro Knight DNA skips a generation, and young Ben Tennyson was turning into one. During summer vacation, Grandpa Max would take Ben and his cousin Gwen to Plumber's HQ to help them harness their new alien abilities. Ben can now transform into his Pyro Knight form at will, and in this form, his body is made up of pure fire and magma. He can shoot fireballs and fly using his hands and feet as jet propulsions. He would train with his grandpa every summer, and now in his mid-20s, he is a full member of the Plumbers, and he goes by the hero name Heatblast. Vilgax the Conqueror has destroyed hundreds of planets in his lifetime, wiping out whole species of extraterrestrial lives. After he tried to conquer Earth and failed thanks to the Plumbers, Earth is now in the protection of the Omnitrix Tribunal, and its leader, Azimuth, has recruited some of Earth's smart scientists to help bring back extinct species. This is where Lenny Talbot comes in. He is a genius in DNA splicing, and thanks to Azimuth, who keeps records of DNA of many aliens stored in a watch-like device, he managed to replicate and clone a Bulbomancer, a canine species that are entirely blind, but relies on special gills to help with smell and hearing. As not to waste a sample Azimuth gave him, Lenny would clone it using an Earth's dog DNA and mix it with a small piece of the Bulbomancer DNA to create a hybrid. But more studies need to be done. Unfortunately, Vilgax had returned. Robots raided Lenny's lab, destroying everything they could, and started to attack him. Suddenly, Heatblast shows up and sets the robots on fire, telling Lenny to make a run for it. In a panic, the wounded Lenny grabs a file of the Bulbomancer's DNA and ran out the fire exit. He was badly hurt and fell on the ground, and with his vision fading, he looked back at his lab, now ablaze, and pulls out the file. He was bleeding out fast, and with nothing else to lose, he injected himself with the DNA, hoping the Bulbomancer's healing factor could save him. Then he would pass out. He would wake up in the forest with his clothes tattered and his wounds healed. It worked! But his sight was gone, and his other senses had greatly improved to compensate. He smelled food coming from a distance and wandered his way into a bar. He didn't have his wallet on him, but once when the bartender saw how disheveled he looked, he told him it was on house. When he hears news on TV, they were saying Heatblast and the Plumbers stopped a robot invasion, and there were reports of a strange dog-like man running into the forest. The creature is wearing the same tattered clothes Lenny is wearing, and after noticing this, Lenny hears the bartender's heartbeat begin to race. As to not cause a disturbance, Lenny thanked the bartender for the meal and walked away. Could it be that the Bulbomancer's DNA caused some sort of mutation? In order to test this, Lenny needed to experiment. He figured the transformation is caused by an increase in adrenaline, but how can he do that, especially without his equipment? Luckily, he didn't have to think too hard, as another robot invasion was happening again. Portals opened up in the sky, and robots were dropping out from them, and one landed right in front of Lenny. It was pointing a plasma gun at him, and Lenny started to feel strange. He started to transform. His muscles grew, fur and spines were growing as well, and his eyes sink into his skull. Then his remaining senses would heighten even more. Unlike before, Lenny actually has control in this form, and with his enhanced strength, he tore the robot's arm off and started to eviscerate it ripping wires out with his teeth. Heatblast flies in the scene, and is surprised to see the scientist he saved now in this new form. They both hear someone yelling for help, and rush in to save them. Lenny grabs the person and brings them to a safe area, while Heatblast was melting the robots. Suddenly, a plasma bolt hits Lenny, and this would anger him. He went into a feral state and ran up to the robot, tearing it limb from limb. Heatblast tries to tell him it's done, but Lenny snarls at him, baring his teeth. Then he suddenly stops, and would transform back into his human self. Heatblast congratulated him, but tells him he needs to learn how to control himself in his Phobomancer form. So he recruited Lenny to the Plumbers, where he would become the Were-Phobomancer superhero, Wildmutt. Jeffrey Malachi came from a long line of geologists. All throughout his life, he heard his dad talk about the chromostone, a crystalline rock that was theorized to be the meteorite that killed the dinosaurs. It was his life's mission to find this stone, but he never did. When Jeff grew older, he followed in his father's footsteps, and he finally found the chromostone. He found it in a dig site. It was a small purple geode with a small crack. As Jeff was looking at it, the green light shined in the crack, and he heard a voice. He would look around, but no one was there. Then he heard the voice again, this time clearer. It was repeating the word hero over and over. Jeff looks down, and the green light would glow brighter every time he heard the word hero. He would pick up the rock ever so gently as to not break it, but it would crack open, revealing pink crystals with a green orb in the center. With one last utterance of the word hero, the pink crystal above the green orb elongated and stuck itself into Jeff's forehead. His eyes glow green, and he sees visions of an alien world being overrun by robots. This world looked like it was made entirely of crystals, with crystal humanoids running around in terror, as a man with tentacles covering his face will look down on them in pride. This man is Vilgax the Conqueror. He destroyed this world eons ago. Preparing for Vilgax's arrival, these crystal beings created a crystal sapien to help them. But it was no match for Vilgax, and Vilgax destroyed it, or so he thought. As he blew up this crystal world, a chunk of the crystal sapien flew down to Earth, wiping out the dinosaurs with a shockwave, and waited in the crater for a worthy host. Jeff's eyes stopped glowing, and the pink crystals that lodged in his forehead sinked in further, causing the geode to fuse in his body. In his mind, Chromostone would instruct Jeff on how to use his new abilities. Jeff can now spawn green crystals as hard as diamonds all over his body. He can make swords and shields out of these crystals, and grow crystals from the earth by placing his hands on the ground. And he can fire crystal projectiles. He uses his newfound power to become a hero, not just for him, but also for Chromostone, who felt shame for not being able to save his home world. The media gave him a name, Diamondhead, and he would join a superhero group called the Plumbers. Suddenly, Chromostone felt something he hasn't felt in years. He sensed the arrival of Vilgax the Conqueror. Gregory Freak was a young, up-and-coming scientist who was researching interdimensional travel. His inspiration as a kid was a ghost-hunting couple, Jack and Maddie Fenton. They built a portal to what they called the Ghost Zone, and was responsible for their son Danny becoming the superhero known as Danny Phantom. Now as an adult, Gregory wanted to build his own ghost portal, to find out whether it leads to the afterlife, or another plane of existence. But he kept getting stuck. For some reason, the portal wasn't opening. Try as he might, he can't figure out what he was missing. So he traveled to Amity Park to interview the Fentons. But after answering every question, they refused to tell him how they made their portal, stating that in the wrong hands, it could be used as a weapon. And the fact that the portal itself is unstable, it almost killed their son and corrupted their old friend, Vlad Masters. The portal has to be shut down permanently, only being opened to send any ghosts that escaped back to the Ghost Zone. Furious, Gregory stormed out of their house and traveled back to Omnitopia, to his dingy studio apartment. Suddenly, he heard a sonic boom. Portals opening in the skies, with giant metal pods crashing down in the city, and then opening up into giant crab-like robots. Instead of being scared, Gregory was inspired. He sees the portals and knows that this is his ticket to creating his own ghost portal. But how did he get his hands on that tech? With a loud whoosh, the superhero known as Heatblast flies by and starts firing at the robots, while the new heroes, Wildmutt and Diamondhead, were at ground level, fighting them off. The battle lasted almost a whole day, but with flames and crystal shards littering cities, the heroes have won. Most of the robots were melted thanks to Heatblast, so Gregory couldn't scavenge from them, but the ones that Wildmutt and Diamondhead fought were perfect to scavenge from. He found what he was looking for, plus some crystals from Diamondhead to focus the beam and stabilize the portal. Now all he had to do was turn it on and step in. The portal struggled a bit, with green sparks bouncing around, but after a few seconds it turned on. Gregory started to step through, but he was feeling intense pain, almost like his molecules were on fire. But he pushed through and entered an eerie world. This world looks nothing like how the Fenton described it, and the longer he's in here, the more pain he feels. And with a distant whisper in the back of his mind, Gregory passed out. He would wake up a day later in his bed, wondering if it was all a dream. When he reached out to open the door, his hand faced through it. Ecstatic to realize that his success wasn't a dream, and even more that he accidentally gained powers as well, he decided to see what else he can do. He would train day in and day out to gain better control over his new ghostly abilities. He can fly, phase through solid objects, spawn black and white tentacles from his body, and possess living beings. He even has the ability to transform into a ghostly form, but this transformation was painful, as his head would flip upside down, and his bones start to elongate, forming long, sharp fingers, and his skin becomes super sensitive to the sunlight. But he needs to be in this form to use his powers more efficiently. After a week of training, more robots started to appear. Gregory threw on a protective hood that he made to counteract the sun's rays, and transformed to help the other heroes. Every time he transformed, the pain keeps getting worse, but he needed to endure it for the sake of the civilians. Not to mention, he also hears a voice in the back of his head. The voice started as incoherent mumblings, but now they are more prominent. While introducing himself to the heroes and fighting the robots, the voice kept getting louder and louder, saying,
"I am no hero,
and
you will get everyone killed."
Gregory just figured it was his own self-doubt telling him these things, but when a giant metal arm was about to crush his family, the voice began to rejoice, saying,
"Yes, let them suffer. Let them feel fear like they never before."
This wasn't Gregory's voice. He flew down to the family, dragging them away. They were terrified by his appearance, calling him a Ghostfreak, and ran off screaming.
"What are you doing?"
said the voice.
"You had them right where I wanted them. You don't deserve my power."
And with that, the voice boomed in Gregory's head.
"You don't deserve the power of the scar."
Gregory started to feel that pain again. His skin, his molecules, his whole being started to fade away, only leaving the ectoneurite tyrant known as Scar. He flew into one of the portals in the skies to meet an old friend of his once again, Vilgax. Alright, and there we go. This was a lot of fun, although in the Heatblast time-lapse, I kinda screwed up on the prompt. So, instead of making a superhero base off of Heatblast, I kinda just drew Heatblast in spandex. So I had to redo it, and all I changed was really his face, added an extra finger, and changed the feet to be more boot-shaped. And I guess I could have swung more into the humanoid side of these heroes, because that was really the whole prompt. But I was running out of time for this video because I was working on something else for a friend. But other than that, I still like how the art turned out. Heck, I even like how Heatblast looked before I changed him. Anyway, if y'all have a favorite, let me know in the comments down below. And you want to see part 2 to this story, or you want to see more Ben 10 related videos, give me some suggestions. Someone mentioned I should have Ben 10 aliens into different animes, which I might do in the future. Who knows? Anyway, with that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all the fun, fancy YouTuber stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. T-Rav signing out. See ya!